Hello everybody, I hope you're all well and welcome back to Voicenotes with Jordan Theresa. Today we have, I always say the most exciting guest, but it just keeps getting topped. We have my first ever Irish guest.
Woo!
The amazing Keelin Moncrieff. Keelin, introduce yourself. What are you about? What do you do? What are your favourite things?
I'm Keelin, I'm Irish. I love potatoes and I love pints of Guinness.
Perfect.
That's what you wanted to hear, giving the people what they want.
Giving the people
Have you ever seen that where it's like Irish people, maybe you're not on Irish For You page's TikTok, but it's like I saw an American and I just gave them what they want and I said top of the morning to you and then I said sláinte after, you know, it's like it's like giving them what they want. They're just like, you're an Irish person? Do a trick, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you just give it to them full swing.
Don't worry, Bems, just be yourself. You don't have to put on the Irish caricature over here. But Keelin very kindly has decided to essentially do this episode for me. It feels like the original plan was to we're gonna present a topic each and lecture each other. My brain is so fried right now, breakup things, that Keelin was like, oh, I've come with all this stuff. I'm like,
but that's good about doing podcasts with content creators because then you just sit back, relax, put the feet up.
Oh, exactly.
You know, two yappers coming together. We're fighting over the mic time.
Exactly. I love it. I want to bring my friends on soon, and I know that I'm going to have to be working overtime when I bring the non-influencer girlies onto the podcast because they don't get it. But the way that we start off all the episodes of Voicenotes, just to get the ball rolling, is TV show you're watching, book you're reading, song you're listening to.
So I'm reading Michael McGee's, what's it called? I had it on my story yesterday. I'll have to check my phone. Michael McGee's, the one where it's set in Belfast, Close to Home, by Michael McGee. And I saw it on Emma Neal's story, and she said, I don't know if people will get this because of the lingo and the Belfast sort of culture about it, you know, areas and slang and stuff like that. So I wanted to start it. I love the North of Ireland culture and just the history and everything. It interests me so much. Because it's still I suppose the tension is still hanging in the air there, and it's not something we're used to in the south of Ireland. So I'm really interested into looking into it further, and I still have family up there and everything. So anyway, I wanted to read it to get more of an insight, in an artistic way.
Immerse yourself.
Immerse myself. So anyway, I started reading Close to Home by Michael McGee, which I initially bought because I thought it was an LGBT pride book. I don't know why. It was just because there was too many.
I made up by your own brain.
And then as I was 100 pages in, I was going, there's nothing gay about this at all. And then but then finally there was enter a bisexual character, and then I thought, okay, here we go.
Yes! Finally, a win is a win.
I'll take it. But anyway, I'm obsessed with it at the moment. I'm catching on with the slang. They call a smoke a feg, F-E-G.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Roll a feg. I love that.
I love that as well.
They do slag Dublin accents in it as well, specifically posh ones. So
me, a Brit, I love that. I love that as well.
And then what were the other questions? What TV show I'm watching?
TV show you're watching and song you're listening to.
Okay, song I'm listening to. It's probably Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, just the toddler playlist on repeat. She loves the alphabet song at the moment, singing ABCs, knows all the words.
Has she gone through the baby shark phase yet?
Oh no, loves Baby Shark, knows all the movements and everything. So that's just on repeat in the car all the time. Otherwise, I'm listening to podcasts. Can I
Yes, no, of course.
I'm obsessed with the podcast at the moment. Sounds Like a Cult.
Ooh.
Do you know Amanda? I think her name is Amanda Montell, and she also has The Magic of Overthinking, I think it's called, or Magical Overthinkers. I think it's one of those. She has 2 podcasts anyway, or maybe more than 2. But I just listened to her episode on Sounds Like a Cult about trad wives, and then another one about Taylor Swift. She has one about family vloggers, Mormonism. It's really, really interesting.
No, it sounds right up my street.
It really is. But her parents are scientists, so her approach to podcasting is so research based, but she's also very entertaining, so it's really, really engaging and it's really good. And then her Magical Overthinkers podcast, I just listened to one on social media comparison, which I think is an imperative listen for anyone who has a social media platform.
Yes, because
it's probably one of the main industries where we feel like we're in competition with each other, but we get the most gain out of collaboration. So it's the 2 sides of the coin where we feel like we're up against all these people. You know, your worth is based off numbers and followers.
Resentment.
I know.
I feel like the relationship that influencers have with other influencers is very similar to I guess like the relationship, I don't know whether a sibling is like the right term, but I guess it's more like there's like this sense of like rivalry and resentment, and I find that resentment builds a lot. I mean, I don't find it personally, but
Do you want to turn off the aircon?
oh shit, yes, thank you. But if all of a sudden the audio sounds so much better, you're welcome, Keelin. Thank you. So yeah, no, with influencers it's interesting because I feel like I hear a lot of influencer tea.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
See, I don't hear much, but it's very cliquey in Ireland. There's like one influencer girl group and that is it. And if you're not in it, you're on your own. Yeah, literally.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it because Ireland is like a small country? Is it because there's like less influencers there?
I think Ireland as a culture is, as a nation, we're just very uncomfortable with popularity or maybe fame in a way. Mm-hmm. Because like you still see these interviews on the red carpet, you know, talking to Keelin Murphy and being like, what's your favorite flavor of crisp? Or like, what you have in your chicken fillet roll? It's like we can't ask them any sincere questions or like anything in earnest about their career because they're talking too much about themselves or they love themselves because they think they're great, do you know? I think that's definitely being wiped away now, but I do think then there's an element of fear of people putting themselves out there and feeling scared of the judgment they will face, but it's definitely a thing of the past. I think it's like going to the wayside.
That's good.
I do feel it kind of going away and it's more like normalised and probably something, because I think most primary school children now, the number one thing they want to be is YouTubers. And that's still a thing. That's a thing in Irish primary schools as well. But so, yeah, because of that, there's definitely less influencers and maybe just a smaller population. But then also if anyone comes to any sort of level of notoriety, they're more likely or be more inclined to emigrate because there's limited opportunities for people in Ireland. And like, you know, if you have a podcast, more people to interview in London. I'm flying here every month, you know, to interview people. So it's probably a combination of a few things as to why there's so many few people. And then in Ireland as well, because it's so new, a lot of brands would only go for one specific type of influencer for like their events, for PR, for to work with in collaboration. They'd be very cookie cutter, clean cut, don't have an opinion, brand friendly, basically.
Like, because I feel like in the UK it was similar like 10 years ago, as everyone would choose the sort of the Zoellas, the, you know, I mean, I'm a stan, but you know, like the Zoellas and like the very clean sort of cookie cutter, and then sort of people got bored of it, and then now the sort of upcoming influencers are people that make like really niche content or people that are like really like brutally honest. Yeah,
well, that's what we want to see anyway. As a consumer myself, you know, I want to see brands representing people that are like me and not just people the same person over and over again. And it definitely is a problem in Ireland, and people are noticing it, that for brand trips or like things that influencers are invited at, it's the same few people all the time, even though there's probably more emerging influencers, but they wouldn't have maybe the contacts, or they don't fit a specific mold. And that's not, to me now, I get invited to things now, whereas beforehand I wouldn't have, because I was more out there maybe. But now that I'm a mom, it's like I maybe I'm more approachable, even though I'm like, well, I'm a ticking time bomb. I'll say anything, you know.
With the influencer thing, I find something when I hear about like influencer drama.
Oh yeah.
In London, I like the influencer drama I find the most interesting is like when sort of friendships break up, and I think it's a lot of the time it's sort of born from like resentment. A part of me does think that some people, you know, can't be friends with people who are in the same niche as them because you're competing with them. Like,
oh, interesting.
Let's say you, I'm trying to think of a sort of niche that isn't to do with me or any of my friends. But like, let's say you make videos about films and like TV. Like, it's so often that you would like if you have like a best friend, what are you gonna do when they make a video that you were actually planning on making, and you just go, fine, you know.
Yeah.
I think it's just like ripe for the resentment to build. I think it's really, really interesting. Also, I think it's an age thing. I think a lot of influencers are actually really young, like especially in London. Like when I am like at an event and I'm like, how old are you? I'm 20. Like, you know, it's like a young, like, you know, young, like you learn. I think, actually, sorry, I'm going off on a tirade, but I find it like really, I feel quite bad for people that like became really, really popular when they were like 19 and having to see like, you know, their friendships and relationships, fall apart isn't the right sense, but their friendships and relationships end in such a public way.
And like, you don't know how to deal with it properly.
You don't know how to deal with it properly. And I also think people are very deeply unempathetic. People want to know the drama, which is natural because I always want to know the drama.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know, like I always think, oh my God, imagine if my life at 19 was like aired for hundreds of thousands of people to see and like have an opinion on.
Yeah, that must be really hard now, in fairness.
My God. I can't remember how we got to this subject, actually.
I was talking about what I was listening to, podcasts I was listening to.
Yes, oh my God.
The show I'm watching at the moment is The Serial Killer's Wife.
Okay. Is it like a fictional moment?
A fictional moment. My mom recommended it, except obviously I'm living with my baby daddy at the moment, and he suffers with OCD.
I have OCD.
Oh, do you have OCD?
Yes.
You know, my best friend Molly has OCD as well, and I feel like I actually attract people with OCD.
That's really weird.
And my ex co-host was also had OCD.
Oh my God.
Why are you all attracted to me? I'm just an intrusive thought.
You're a calming presence.
But Jason suffers with OCD, so he has to. But one of his triggers is like anything to do with violence against women or SA. Mm-hmm. So we can't watch any, and obviously every show, nearly every single series or movie now, like glorifies one of those things in some way.
Oh yeah, SA is used to further the plot all the fucking time.
Yeah, it's just like, let's just throw this in there.
Yeah.
Do you know, so Jason can't watch anything to do with that, so we started it and then there was violence against women, so we had to stop. Mm-hmm. So I'm not watching that anymore. We got like 3/4 of the way of the first episode.
Oh.
Like we can't watch Baby Reindeer either.
Oh, to be fair, I listened to a really good podcast episode from Polyester about
I love Polyester.
Baby Reindeer. Yeah. Basically, it's called like Baby Reindeer has turned us all into monsters. Oh. And I mean, Baby Reindeer didn't particularly spark my interest anyway, but I especially didn't want to watch Baby Reindeer after like people's sort of vigilante justice reactions. And I'm like, this is why nobody can consume content normally. Where's the cat? There she is. Nobody can consume content normally.
Yeah.
Like people have to like go and find the person, give the person a platform, fucking put them on the news. I mean, apparently she was doing bloody nightclub appearances. I'm like, why can't we do anything normally? Like this is ridiculous.
I think it is just social media literacy though, because the lines are blurred now in terms of boundaries with people online and in real life. Mm-hmm. And because Baby Reindeer, I suppose, was based on true life or real life, everyone needs to be a part of it as if it's an ongoing reality TV show that they are entitled to because they consumed the TV series on Netflix.
I do think a part of it intentionally blurred the lines. Like they had the actor play himself.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of Netflix, like true crime, but not documentaries, sell themselves on the fact that this is a true story.
Yeah.
Like it's all part of the, it doesn't mean that I can't have a lot of empathy for Richard Gadd because I do actually feel bad for him. But you know what I want to recommend you, like Love Island US, if you want
I heard about this, that it's so good.
So good, because Love Island UK this year, flop.
I'd say every year I'm not going to watch it this year, and then I'm there up at 9 o'clock.
Have you been watching it?
I have been watching the UK.
I feel like it's not giving.
It was giving there for a little bit. After Harriet left, and then after Uma left, I was like, this is it now.
Yeah, and it's like, there's so many people that are behind the machine that is Love Island. It shouldn't be this hard to make a good show.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And you know what, one thing and I very, very rarely compliment Americans, but one thing that I do actually quite like about Americans is that they're quite shameless. And like on Love Island, it's like they all just put themselves out there so much. They're all these huge personalities, and it can be very overstimulating at times. Yeah. But it makes for really bloody good TV. And I've just been loving it. And it's like, I obviously am like a freshly single girl, and I'm like, yeah, guys, I'm gonna be like in my single era, like I'm gonna be celibate, like all this. And then like after watching Love Island US, I'm like, I want someone to pine for me. I want someone to long for me. Like the boys like fully, like I don't know, it's just really sweet watching people fall in love, like real people.
Are the boys courting in it?
There's bumps along the road.
Okay.
But like these boys, I feel like I'm seeing some of these boys turn into men.
Oh.
And it's really sweet.
You really are selling it to me.
Honestly, watch it. Like it's overwhelming sometimes, but I will say that I think that they've done the casting really well. And I think like American people do make better reality TV than British people sometimes. British people are too stilted.
But I feel like the early seasons of Love Island were so much better. And it maybe now they're trying to be more market friendly or brand friendly. Because, you know, they're not allowed to have sex on telly. Or is it to do with people's mental health, maybe? Because that's fair enough. That's a fair enough point. But, like, they're not allowed to smoke on TV. And that's obviously and they're not allowed to drink as much. They're only allowed 2 drinks.
Yeah.
They're not really fornicating on telly either.
But I think a lot of it's got to do with like I think a lot of it's got to do with safeguarding, I can imagine.
Okay, yeah.
Because like I've researched a lot into reality TV, and like there's been a lot of like reality TV landmark shows that essentially like changed the entire industry. So like things like I Want to Marry Harry, which was like the fake Prince Harry dating show, basically brought in loads of safeguarding where people can't gaslight reality TV contestants anymore because the women were gaslighted.
Oh, okay.
So a lot of the women didn't think that it was Prince Harry, and they would go to the therapist and they'd sit down and they'd be like, I don't think that's Prince Harry. And the therapist would be like, you're crazy, it is Prince Harry. Because the therapist wasn't a therapist, they were a producer.
Oh, good God.
Like, it was like the most insane thing I've ever heard in my life. So like there's landmark reality shows where they essentially like implement loads of new laws, and they're like, we can't do that again.
Okay.
And with Love Island, you know, it's definitely like a lot of it's got to do with safeguarding, but also I think a lot of it's just got to, like, if they've got the same rules in the US, I'm pretty sure, and they're making a much better show.
Okay.
You know, I think that it's honestly just down to bad casting.
Yeah, they can't. It's like the same people, and it's more influencers now and stuff.
So influencery.
I want more normal people.
Yeah, or like just throw in a wild card in there, throw a goth in there.
Yeah,
I see a lot. Like I want to watch a goth babe fall in love with a boy from Essex.
Yeah,
like I think like really like shaking it and mixing it up, I think would make it really fun.
Definitely.
But yeah, I would highly recommend Love Island US.
Okay,
so good.
I'll have to put that on my list now.
So Keelin.
Oh yeah.
What did you want to discuss on the pod today?
So I wanted to talk about menstrual products. So when did you first get your period?
I was 15, but I didn't like get it regularly until I was about 16 or 17.
I was the same.
Yeah.
And that's apparently late, but I feel like that's a normal...
I feel like it's a normal age, but also I was like the last person to come on my period and stuff. And it like was becoming like an issue. It was like she has to go to the doctors soon type spiel.
Oh my God.
And then when I got it, it didn't come properly. I don't really know why. I think it's just like period things, you know. But it's one of those things where, you know, it is interesting that like something in my body wasn't right because I was only getting a period every 6 months. But it wasn't like nobody knew what was wrong. And I find that kind of crazy.
But I thought that was normal to not have a regular period at the beginning.
See, misinformation.
Yeah, misinformation. And I was talking because now it's actually Jason's niece, but I bring out my niece, technically my niece. I bring her out once or twice a week. And I love her, but she's had a complicated upbringing. So I was just trying to broach the conversation of puberty because she's 10 now and she's like approaching that age. And I was like, did they teach it in school? Just like asking her what she knows. And she was like, no, they don't. I go, what do you know about puberty? She was like, blood.
What?
Yeah.
That's so sad.
And I said, has anyone in your class gotten their period yet? And she was like, yeah. And I remember when I was in 3rd class, people had, no, that's different. I don't know what
3rd class
year.
is that. So she's 10. So she's in year 5, I think. Is she in her last year of like primary school? Or to be fair, the structure's probably completely different.
It's completely different,
Never mind.
But I remember her being her age and 2 girls in my class had gotten their period. So imagine getting your period before you've been educated on what a period is.
It's like in Carrie.
Yeah, it's just
Carrie
like why.
starts freaking out.
And it's just like why did they teach us about sex when we've probably already had it by then? You know, 4th year, transition year that's when we're 16 in school. It's too late, babes.
It's too late, babes.
It's too late.
It's too late. I find that crazy because I remember my like sex education in school. I would actually describe it as pretty thorough. I wouldn't describe it as good, but I would describe it as they hit all of the points. Yeah. You know, like they did like I remember, oh my God, like traumatic memory of when we had to learn about puberty when we were in year 4 or year 5, so we were like 9 or 10 years old, and we had to like share the class with the boys, and we all had to like watch the same video, and they spoke about wanking and stuff. No. Yeah, it's like,
sorry, I'm an adult and I laughed at the word wanking.
No, like they were like if you're like this is what you're oh my God, sorry, I'm literally like digging up this memory. They were like, like, and it had like that weird soft voice, and it was like, this is your penis, and it will feel funny when you touch it when it goes hard. Like all this, like it was crazy.
What?
That was the day that I found out that men have balls.
You found out then?
I had no idea that men had balls. I thought it was
didn't
just
know about
cock.
testes?
Cock, no balls. Yeah, like I thought it was just like raw cock, no balls. Like when I found that out, I was like, wait. And then I realized, because you know how people used to like draw penises in school and shit.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's what that is.
You thought it was a bum or something?
Yeah. I thought it was the legs or something. Like, I was like,
I had a proper naked family. Like my parents would be coming in and out of the shower naked all the time.
Really?
Yeah. So I knew what pubes were. I knew what a willy and balls were.
oh my God, I don't think I like actually saw a penis in real life until I was like, honestly, like 17. Isn't that crazy?
I didn't see a penis IRL until I was
Like,
17.
Yeah, because I also didn't watch porn growing up.
Oh no,
neither
neither did I.
Yeah.
Now there was a time where like older cousins or whatever, my older brother would be like, yeah, you know the 2 girls 1 cup video that was
my
fucking
God.
traumatizing. That was about it.
You've literally
Or
just...
Omegle. Did you ever go on Omegle?
Omegle. You call it Omegle.
Yeah, what is it called?
I call it Omegle.
Omegle. I don't know what it is. It's probably not Omegle.
I'm obsessed with Omegle though.
Wait, that's actually like stunning. Yeah.
Like, oh, what are you doing? Oh, I'm just gonna pop on Omegle later.
It's so chic.
It's so chic. It's so chic. I went on Omegle, but again, I'm pretty sure, you know, when someone's wanking on Omegle, you can't see their balls.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
But also, like, I remember you again digging up memories here, Keelin. I remember when I went to I went to this girl's house after school.
Yeah.
We were in like year 3, I would like to say, so we were like, how old are we? Like 8?
Yeah.
We were like 8, and she like had a computer in her room.
Oh no.
Danger zone. Nino.
Fucking
Danger
hell.
zone. And she went onto a website called sex.com.
No!
She went onto a website called sex.com, and it was like a porn website.
Of course it was.
I need to know if sex.com is still up and running, because whoever took that domain,
Yeah.
good for you. You ate that one thing, getting sex.com. And I remember it was like, there was so much porn. And I remember at the time, I just had no idea what I was even looking at.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I look back on it now that I did realize what I was looking at. And I'm
Yeah.
like, ew.
Yeah.
That
It's
girl
sick.
needed her home computer taken away
I
from
can't
her.
believe that. We'd be fighting over Club Penguin down in the office, you know, on the PC. And
Yeah.
like my neighbours would come around and like wait for their turn to go on Club Penguin because we had a PC.
Yeah, or Stardoll.
Yeah, or no, I wasn't a Star Doll girl.
Were you
now.
not a Star
we
Doll-
were
Star
like
Doll girl?
begging my parents for the Club Penguin membership for Christmas. That was our buzz.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
Tia. I had the Club Penguin membership. I had like 8 puffles.
So good.
So
Nothing will
good.
ever beat it. But yeah, if I just feel like if we had the education a bit younger, because there's a whole thing. Now I've talked about this loads of times. I'm literally, you know, I'm turning into one of those people that just repeats myself constantly.
I repeat myself all the time.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
So anyway, there's a thing in Ireland, especially now. I don't know what it's like in other places, but it's like if you teach children about sex when they're younger, they're going to turn into perverts. We don't need to be, or they're going to, you know, come out trans and gay, which makes no fucking sense. It's just like that's already inside people, but you can't like influence people to choose their sexuality. Anyway.
Yeah, if we could, I'm absolutely influencing my son to be gay.
I know.
So.
Yeah. Hello. So because of that, then there's like a knowledge gap where there's parents not wanting their kids to know about anything to do with sex. So that includes like the names of your body parts and periods.
Also, it's like pretty fucked though. I mean, it's messed up anyway, but it's especially messed up because like multiple like child safeguarding charities and organizations have said how important it is to teach children as young as 5 what their body parts are called, because then if somebody touches them inappropriately or assaults them, they can say what's wrong. Do you know what I mean? And there's like that gets more gravity.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Instead of no, that's just my hot take right now.
But exactly. But so then because of that, there's like less of a push for sex education to be brought into like younger years. It's more like, oh, it's good as we're doing the best that we can now just by getting it into secondary school. And then even the quality of it is not great. I remember when my secondary school experience was when they were teaching us about sex, it was more just to focus on how abstinence
Really?
is like you won't get pregnant if you don't have sex. Yeah.
Did they not do the show you pictures of what genitals look like with an STI?
No, I don't think so. I can't remember. we definitely were taught about what the different STIs are and like the symptoms of them, because I know that chlamydia, there's not many symptoms. I do remember that from school.
Yeah.
And that it can affect your fertility and to speak to someone, blah, blah, blah. But there wasn't, like, they didn't go into depth, if you know what I mean. There's like a lot, I came out of it with still a lot more questions. Now as a 26-year-old, I still have a lot more questions.
Yeah.
You know.
I actually remember in my sex education, it's funny that you don't realise it like at the time, but I remember, to be fair, my sex education was like, I'd say okay.
Yeah.
You know, there needs to be obviously like, honestly, so much more emphasis on like consent. That was like the biggest my takeaway.
No, that's
now
huge.
As an older thing. Really?
My 10-year-old niece is literally like, I don't consent to stuff. She was like, she would teach me.
So happy.
I know. And then she asked to go for sushi. It was fantastic. She taught me about consent, and then she was like, I want to go for sushi and I want to drink a matcha.
I love that.
Yeah, I know. She's very sophisticated.
I love that. She sounds like me.
I know. She's amazing.
I found there needs to be more emphasis on consent, and also there needs to be like more emphasis on actually how to have sex. And I know that people like, the problem is when you introduce something of like, educating 16 to 18-year-olds on like safe ways to practice sex outside of using protection, it's sort of seen as like, you need to, like you essentially get accused of like, you're a pervert. You're a pervert because you want to teach kids how to have sex.
Yeah.
But the thing is that like most people I know, had like really painful ways of like losing their virginity, or like, like what, like a lot of girls, I remember even now, like some of my friends are like, why does doggy hurt so much? And it's like things that we don't, like, we should know.
Yeah.
We should know why this is. And I think especially like the epidemic of like young boys trying to recreate porn, like that needs to be nipped in the fucking bud right now.
Yeah.
I can't remember where I was going with this, but but something that like I did find interesting about my sex education, it just really made me laugh. Like I remember I was like 15 years old, and I was like, why would anyone have sex on their period? That's like disgusting.
Oh, honey, you're in for a rude awakening. But are you interested in period sex or?
It depends. I think it depends how long term the relationship is.
Yeah, I've had sex before by accident. I didn't know I was on my period. Mm-hmm. And I'd met him actually. This is the first time I've had sex with someone that I'd met for the first time that night. Mm-hmm. But we had mutual friends. Like, I knew he wasn't a pervert or anything. Uh-huh. So anyway, I met him that night, and then we went up to the main room, and he went down on me and whatever. And I was like, wait, this is fucking fantastic. I was like, this guy knows what he's doing. And then he goes to the bathroom and then comes back, and then we start having sex. And then when we finish, I'm like, oh my God, sorry, I think I got my period. And he goes, oh, I know. When I went to... He goes, when I went down on you and then went to the bathroom, there was blood all over my face. And I was like, and you didn't say anything when you came back? And he was like, no, sure, I don't care.
That's a real man.
I know.
That's a real man.
I know.
I see, interestingly enough, is like with period sex, it's like I find I don't know whether I'm gonna have to cut this out or not, but I haven't got a chance.
Yeah.
I find that the longer I'm in a relationship for, the less interested I become in sex.
Oh no, I'm pretty sure that's normal.
Like that's normal, right? Like,
and it comes in waves.
Yeah, I mean, I had like this whole complex over sex for like a really long time when I was in a relationship, and something that I found was that when I was, in early stages of the relationship, when I was on my period, I was like extra horny, so I was like having more sex. Not on day 2 though. Day 2.
No, day 2 is no go. Oh no.
Trenches.
No.
But like as the relationship went on, it was like the period ended up becoming like almost like a no-go, like do you want to have sex? No, I'm on my period. And it's just like, oh, okay. And I find it really interesting that happened. Like I just lost like a lot of interest. Like it's happened to me twice in relationships where like I lose a lot of interest in having sex the longer the relationship goes on.
Not even to do with your period, but just period.
Just
period.
Yeah.
Full stop. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's normal. I have one friend now, and she's had a baby and everything with her partner for 5 years, I think now. And she's just like, we're having sex more than ever. And I was like, way to rub it in. I was just like, what's wrong with you? I know, I love that for her, but I'm just like, is there something, like, what am I missing?
No, I think about this all the time. I refuse to listen to any episode of Stephen Bartlett's podcast because I hate Stephen Bartlett.
Okay, who's Stephen Bartlett? Diary of a
He's
CEO.
like that, Diary of a CEO,
oh, right,
okay. Capitalism Ken.
Capitalism Ken. So good, yeah.
And like but he actually, I've seen clips on TikTok of the podcast episode he made with like a sex therapist.
Okay.
And I really want to listen to it because they talk about like the discrepancy between men and women and sex drives, and how, I can't remember where the hell I was going with this. Basically like why a lot of women lose interest in sex the longer their relationship goes on for.
And what do they have to say?
Well, she basically said that the way that women and men are aroused is like actually very different. And she's like, it's, you know, when like they like poll people, and when you ask a woman who's been in a long-term relationship, honestly, genuinely, how often do you feel like having sex?
Yeah.
They'll usually say like once a month. Like they're like, nah, like once a month. But like, it doesn't mean they're having sex once a month. It's just when they really feel like it, they want to have sex once a month. And she said women become aroused within the sex act. So like a lot of women will like have sex and they're like, oh, I don't really feel like it. But then when they're like getting with it, they're like, oh, I'm really, really liking this kind of thing. Meanwhile, with men, it like acts a lot like a switch. Men are like one thought away from getting horny.
Oh,
Meanwhile,
like literally the wind changes direction.
Yeah.
And they're like, I'm hard.
Yes.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, with women, it's like, it's like, you know, the kissing, the touching has to happen and then they become aroused.
Yeah.
But like sometimes I feel like it can be like a little bit of there can almost be like a psychological barrier that almost happens where you sort of get stuck in your head of, oh, well, I don't want to have sex. So like, I'm not going to, or why don't I want to have sex? Why aren't I feeling horny? And you sort of end up trapped in this cycle. It's very interesting.
That is very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So many tangents there. How many topics have we covered? This could be like 17 minisodes.
There's going to be so many timestamps. The timestamps are going to go crazy. I don't remember why the hell I was talking about that, to be honest. Something to do with sex education, maybe.
No, you lost your sex drive. Lose your sex drive in relationships. It goes away.
Yeah, like
I'm
sometimes.
just like, the excitement goes away. Like when I was having sex with my ex, obviously it was just like, obviously I was having sex with my ex. Do you know what I mean? Because it was so exciting. It was like we weren't allowed. And now we're living together and it's like I'm just repulsive all the time. You know, I'm farting and just like, you know, oiling my hair and I'm just not in the mood, you know. Yeah, it's just like we just don't speak to each other and watch TV on opposite ends of the couch.
Yeah.
Whereas beforehand when we were living together, I was dropping the baby off and we'd be like, meow, you know. Yeah, it's like, wait. It's like, do you miss me? Come on.
Yeah, I also find that something that I can't believe we're going back on this tangent, but something that I also find is that I feel like I have less sex in long-term relationships when I'm starting to feel more secure because I feel like I don't have anything to prove anymore.
Oh my God.
Fucked up.
Do you think so?
Yeah. Like, I feel like I like do, and it doesn't mean I don't enjoy it, but like at the beginning of the relationship, I've been doing the most.
Oh,
I'm
really?
doing the most when it comes to sex because I'm trying to impress them.
Oh no.
Isn't that really bad?
That's horrible. I don't know. I think I can honestly say I've never done that for a man. Thank God.
Really?
Especially in the bedroom, I'm not trying to impress them. That is.
Oh my God.
I'm getting the most out of that for me and me only.
To be fair, this is what my celibacy stint is for. I need to rejig myself. I need to reset my brain.
Yeah.
Because to be fair, it's like a younger thing that I did like when I was like, you know, in my teens and early 20s. But you know, I would literally like, I'd like do the most. And then as I started to feel more secure, it was like I didn't have that motivation there anymore. Yeah. Which is really bad. It's really messed up.
No, celibacy would be so good then.
Celibacy is great. I'm loving my celibacy stint so far, but I will say I'm the horniest I've ever been in my life. Bitch, what the fuck?
Is it because you're not allowed?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
that's
so.
probably it.
And it's also because the pressure, like, and I just want to make it clear, the pressure came from myself, and the pressure never came from anyone else.
No.
But like, I constantly put pressure on myself, like, why aren't you having sex? And nothing's less arousing than pressure.
Yeah.
So like, even with like pressure in different aspects of your life, when you're feeling like pressured with work, the last thing I feel like for me personally, the last thing I want to do when I'm feeling stressed is fucking have sex. Like, leave me alone. But yeah, like with, you know, I can't remember what I was saying. Sorry, I've lost my train of thought. Sex, pressure. Oh yeah, like I feel like now that the pressure is completely gone, like I feel like I don't have like this sort of pressure of, oh, I should be having sex with my boyfriend kind of thing, which never came from anyone but myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it's like now I feel so free.
And you're like, wait, I can have sex just because I want to.
Yes.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
It's amazing.
But you are going to say celibate or?
I don't know. I don't want to put like a D-Day down on my celibacy, but I think I want to put myself back in the ring. Probably maybe around like October time. I feel like it's when I'm ready.
When you need some cuddles in the winter. Get yourself ready.
Start dating some girls, you know.
Yeah.
Because everyone's back into it. Yeah.
Now that Julia Fox is out as gay.
Yes, love
we
that.
can all celebrate it. Okay, should we get into the tampons now?
Yes, let's get into the tampons of it all.
So did you see the recent study that came out about the toxic metals found in tampons?
Well, you sent it to me first and I was like, well, I haven't heard of this. And then my lovely friend Bryn messaged me saying... he sent it to me Friday, 9:38 in the evening with the tampons thing. Yeah. This is crazy. I said, Jesus Christ. He said, like, what the fuck? Also, sorry, didn't mean to cause you angst. I just thought it might be interesting for an essay/podcast situation at some point. I replied the next morning, lol, I might chat about it on the podcast, you know? And then he said, why was I drunk sending you topics? So obsessed that Bryn was like on a night out, drunk, saw the toxic tampons, immediately sent to me, this is crazy.
Jason now once did send me a guest to interview. He was like, are you into sobriety at all? There's some lad on Instagram who talks about sobriety. He was literally on a night out and was like talking about some guy who'd gone sober that I should interview. It's like,
are you going to interview them?
No. It's like, this is not my buzz, you know. But yeah, so anyway, they found, I think it was 16 different toxic metals in tampons when they did the study, and they tested from 30 different types of tampons. So that's including, they didn't name the brands now, but it was like mainstream brands, and then like store owned, you know, like the less mainstream, organic and non-organic.
Ooh.
Now the leading two that came out as obviously the most horrifying, the icons, if you will, of the toxic metals were lead and arsenic. And it's no amount of lead in anything is safe to ingest or like be anywhere near the body. And higher levels of lead were found in the non-organic tampons, but higher levels of arsenic were found in organic tampons. So
pick your poison.
Yeah, I know, literally pick your poison. But they also don't know, because they just did the study, they don't know how it absorbs into the body, or if it even does absorb into the body or leach out of the tampon itself. They also don't know how, they only made guesses, but they don't know how directly the toxic metals are getting into the tampon. So they think that it's because of pollution or stuff getting into the soil where the cotton is grown. Or it could be to do with water in the manufacturing process getting into the tampons. So they literally don't even know where it's coming from.
This seems pretty crazy for something I'm shoving up my purse.
I know.
The fact that there's, you know what, I mean, I already know anything to do with sort of feminine health is like very under researched.
Yeah.
I know that. I mean, I was on the pill for like 7 years of my life, and for the last 2, it truly wrecked me. And like, no one gives a fuck. But really?
Yeah.
The toxic metals, and they don't even know where it's coming from? Because my immediate thought of when I heard of this was not surprised, because with something where you're like putting it inside you and it's like a sanitary product where it has to sort of stay safe, it wouldn't surprise me that they're shoving loads of chemicals in there and a toxic metal gets in there somehow. That was my thought. But the fact that it's actually, no, it's from the soil or it's from the water, I'm like, what?
I know. Well, already there's added chemicals in sanitary products.
Yeah.
So a lot of mainstream tampon brands would put chlorine or bleach. Now, the FDA does regularly test these tampons for those chemicals specifically, but they've never done a test for toxic metals for some reason. So they know how much chemicals are in each tampon in terms of bleach and chlorine, and it's always at a safe level. But like, come on. Do we really want them to be there where they're not really necessary? And then that's when like organic tampon brands were like, we only use 100% organic products with no added toxins or chemicals. We don't add chlorine or bleach in comparison to mainstream tampon brands. But now it's like these toxic metals are present. Arsenic, higher levels of arsenic in 100% organic tampons. But they do think that is because mainstream tampon brands, it's like a mixture of fibers. So it's not 100% cotton. It's like cotton and rayon together, which is why there could be lower levels of arsenic, because the arsenic is coming from the cotton plant itself. So it's not to do with, you know, it's not to do with being organic. It's not like something that pesticides can kill away. Does that make sense? But anyway, when I was doing my research about the history of menstrual products, obviously menstrual products were noted as far back as like ancient Egypt, but there's a gap then in between that, because once the medieval era came in, they thought that periods were evil, and they blamed a lot of diseases and, you know, even crop failure on women's periods. So then it became a taboo thing. And I think that taboo and like shame has brought into now modern day. And that's why there was so little research, so little documentation of menstrual products that were used after that.
Because they were essentially used in secret. Like, who's going to log it especially if only like women are using them.
Yeah.
You know, like if we think about like women of the, you know, like 1700s, most of them were probably illiterate.
Yeah, because all the men were the people that were writing history, as it were, and they obviously didn't give a shit about periods. They're like, this isn't important because it's not happening to us. So there's very little documentation when it comes to like the history of menstrual products. Now, I do know that, if I find it now correctly, my little notes.
Gonna do that.
Yeah. So basically, in the Egyptians used this plant called papyrus.
Oh, babe, I know papyrus.
Yeah, and it's just like
papyrus is what they used to make the paper out of.
Yeah, and it's literally in the shape of a tampon, apparently. And then in ancient Greece, they used, and apparently this is still a thing that people use, natural sea sponge.
Ooh.
And I feel like that actually, now, I don't know if I'm going insane now just because of the toxic metals and tampons thing and I'm getting desperate, but I was like, that actually,
delightful.
That seems kind of nice.
Like
a sponge.
Especially when like, I don't know, I feel like it's like not just the sponge, it's like the fantasy that comes with the sponge.
Yeah.
Like you can imagine, like I'm in Greece.
Yeah.
I'm naked.
Yes.
I am going through the beach and I'm like, oh, I've come on my period.
Yeah.
So firstly, I just bathe in the sea. You know, I'm on my period, I'm bathing in the sea. And then I'm like, oh, I've got to go and do something now. Pluck a bit of sea sponge out of the water, shove it in there, and then I'm ready to go back. Like, that's the fantasy of using the sea sponge.
And you've sold it to me. Do you know what? I'm sold. Take my money. And I was listening to this podcast earlier about the delightful history of menstrual products. And they were saying that you'd literally just like clean it like a normal sponge and then just shove it back up again.
I mean, it's similar to period cups.
But
I mean, I know it's not the same, but like the cleaning process is like similar. Yeah, it's like another word I feel like for it, but I could not remember. But no, it's almost like
resourceful.
Yeah, it's like with the whole like it's like when you do tampons, you're like, you know, yanking it out, wrapping up the tissue, throwing it in the bin, because I'm going to flush them down the toilet, because my landlord told me off when I did that. And like, I guess, like, it's, I don't know, I don't like to use the words gross when talking about periods, but like, you know, when you yank it out and it's like all up in there, and then you wrap it up, and then I use cups as well. When I use a cup, it's literally just like, dunk it out in the sink, give it a little rinse, put it back up there. I'm like, that's so simple. And it's like so much nicer sometimes. Do you know what I mean? It would be the same with the sea sponge.
With so when Tampax first started, well, before that actually there was this thing called it was like a belt. It was a sanitary belt, but the shape of it was just like underwear, but it was detachable. The crotch part was detachable, and that was the first disposable sanitary product that was ever invented.
It's sort of like period underwear, but disposable.
Sort of like that. So that was created by Johnson & Johnson. I think it was in 1846 or something. But women were still using them. No, it wasn't 18. I'm going to get that wrong. No, 18. Sorry, no, it was a sanitary apron in the 1850s. And it was like...
The sanitary apron, babe. Let me stick on the apron.
One sec. It's just like, it made a... It was like, one sec, babe, I have to put my apron on. So it would just make a layer between you and your clothes so that no blood got in your clothes, basically.
Okay.
And I presume you just have to wipe it clean. But then Johnson & Johnson... Sorry, it was 1896. They invented the sanitary belt, which is the first mass-produced disposable sanitary product. And that was used until the 1970s.
Shut up.
It's like... And they only ever invented, you know, like the adhesive that goes under pads. That was only invented in 1969.
Shut the fuck up.
Jordan, we'd been on the fucking moon before then. We'd landed on the
before
fucking...
before the pads had a sticky side.
No, before pads had a sticky side, before they became waterproof, we've been literally on the moon. We probably had the internet.
Wait, no, sorry. I have different respect for all of my like family members that are over the age of 60. They were having to wear the sanitary belt.
Yeah.
No.
I know. Like the least sexy thing I've ever heard.
There's been like multiple world wars and like nuclear weapons have been made.
Actually, another fact. So this woman who created the first, it was essentially the first ever menstrual cup, but it was made out of like latex rubber. And that was in 1937 or something. But because of the First World War, there was a shortage on rubber. So she went discontinued.
Oh my God.
I know.
Intamina needs to run her damn check.
I know.
Oh my God.
I know. And then Moon Cup only came back into 2002. Which was, and now that's medical grade silicone. So it's not latex, so it's hypoallergenic, fully sustainable, no chemicals.
And you know what I will say is that I remember period cups were like controversial until like probably like 2020.
Yeah.
I reckon. Like, I remember like YouTubers used to be like using a moon cup for a week. Like, do you remember?
Oh yeah.
And like, you know, they did a good job at destigmatizing it, but so much of it was about like the scandal of using a moon cup. So I remember it was seen as like, I find it interesting because I don't think that any period product is gross. But it's interesting how a moon cup was perceived as like gross, but a pad and a tampon was seen as almost more hygienic, when I feel like number one, they're doing the same thing. Number two, I feel like I feel like pads smell. Hot take. Pads can smell.
Pads can smell. I remember there's a distinct smell because I've always been a tampons girl because I was a dancer when I first got my period. So my mom had to teach me how to put a tampon in. Now, she didn't come into the bathroom with me, God bless her, but it was like these cardboard... You know, the
I
applicators.
had to use one of those the other day.
They are just, I don't, like the most stupid thing I've ever had to use. Like they should be obsolete. Like they're not fit for purpose. They don't work. The cardboard applicators. I don't understand them. So anyway, my mom gave me a Tampax cardboard applicator and she was like, okay, try that. And I started crying because it wouldn't go up. And she was like, put your finger in. So then I started taking the tampon out of the applicator and then just putting it up myself. And that was much easier. And then obviously I found that you could get non-applicator tampons. But I've always been a tampon girl. So I've like kept those tampon companies in business, basically. But then after I gave birth, I had to use pads because you can't put a tampon up there. I had fucking stitches. And there is a smell. And I thought it was a birth smell. I thought it was like, this is the smell of birth.
No, it's the smell of a pad.
Yeah, it's the smell of a pad.
Pads smell crazy.
It's weird.
Yeah, I used period cups more anyway because I was sponsored by Intamina for about like 3 years on my channel.
Oh, okay.
So they sent me swathes and swathes of period cups.
Okay.
So that's why I started using period cups in the first place. But also the scent in pads. And some tampons I have to choose what brand, but the scent that gives me a really bad headache. Like, as in, like, the scent that's already in the pad, like before the period hits it. No, but even unscented pads have a scent. They do.
Oh, I'll have to go sniffing some pads now.
I haven't
noticed that before.
Like, I think that, and that's like, it gives me such a bad like headache and like borderlining on migraine.
Right.
Like it's just the smell, like it like affects my, like I feel like it affects my like body so much. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I just don't like them. It's just a sensory nightmare down there.
Yeah, no, sitting down for ages.
If I can feel the wetness.
And then you stand up and you can like feel it leaving. Yeah,
I don't like that now. And I would like to say I'm confident enough to just free bleed, especially in the comfort of my own home, but I can't do it.
It's so inconvenient.
It's uncomfortable.
It's inconvenient.
It's inconvenient. It just feels horrible. It feels like I'm pissing myself, do you know? And that doesn't feel nice.
Like I do a little bit of free bleeding on day 5 to 7.
Yeah.
Because that's not hurting anyone.
No, that's a dribble.
Day 2?
No.
I'm just like it literally would just get blood everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I can't be doing it. But I think that there's probably a bit of apprehension with the moon cups because they haven't been around long enough to test if they're safe. But it's like the other options aren't necessarily safe either. And I think because periods were so taboo and women were ashamed and embarrassed, it was actually sanitary products were the first thing that was like a self-service thing that you could buy in a chemist. So there was like a little honesty box where you could get your sanitary products and then put your coins in like a little thing. So you wouldn't have to go up to a clerk and ask for them, because people were so embarrassed to order sanitary products. It was actually affecting the companies and businesses that had started sanitary products for the purpose of like convenience for women. It was
they
like
need to apply this to the morning after pill, because when I have to go into a chemist and they're like, what do you want? Can I get the morning after pill, please? Why do you need the morning after pill? Because I had sex yesterday and they came inside me. Okay, you can have the morning after pill. They take you into the little room with all the glass windows in it, and it's like, shame, slut. She had raw sex last night. Like, it's so humiliating. They need to do an honesty box for the morning after pill. You can't change a moon cup in public.
No.
Like, you can't. Like, I can only use moon cups when I'm out and about, unless you're in a bathroom where there's a sink next to the toilet.
Yeah.
There
should be maybe period bathrooms. You know, there's family bathrooms, baby changing, disabled bathrooms, sanitary bathrooms.
Yeah. And also all period products should be free.
Oh, no, 100%.
Yeah, that's a given.
Now, they did take away, I know in the UK, they took the VAT off period underwear. Big whoop. It's just like, whatever. It's relatively cheaper for women.
And also, it's like a lot of people don't use period underwear. So, of course, like,
no.
I feel like period underwear is probably, I mean, I don't know. This is like completely off the top of my head. But period underwear is probably like the least used period product I can imagine.
I think it's more like a doubling method. It's like you'd use your tampons and then put on a pair of period pants to go to sleep.
Really?
I don't think people use them solely on their own.
I've never used period underwear before.
I have, and I think I just got the wrong material because I did get thrush from using.
Ooh.
And I wasn't, you know, when you get thrush and you're unsure of what you got it directly from, but then I used the period underwear the next month for my next period after having thrush, and I felt a bit of irritation, so that I never used them again after that. I was like, that's obviously what it was. And they're again with the pads, they are a little bit uncomfortable, but it's great to double up method if you're going to sleep.
Oh, I always double up the pads and tampons.
Yeah, but it's just I don't like the feeling. Now, I have used actually a baby's nappy if I cut off the sticky bits.
Life hack.
With a big pair of underwear. And that's the most comfortable for me, because for some reason if I wear underwear and pads, the sticky part like gets stuck on like the legs in between my hair, the legs in between my the hair in between my legs. You know, it's like pinching me.
Yes.
The adhesive again is not as, you know, it's great that it came in the 1969, but it's still not really fit for purpose. It's like, why don't they build pads for the shape of like different types of underwear?
Yeah.
You know, thongs or Brazilians or whatever. No underwear.
I never get to that issue because I use the pads with wings.
Yeah,
I feel like that's like the biggest shout.
Okay,
and I have a bush. Fun fact.
Yeah.
Like,
get to know me challenge. I have a bush.
Yeah, like I am going through it. Yeah. I have my period whilst I have a bush.
Yeah, no, I have a bush. I just can't. I don't shave my armpits or my legs. But I'm feeling kind of insecure about it now for some reason. And I haven't shaved now and like since I started growing body hair nearly. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's like 21 or something, and then I grew a bit more hair after I gave birth because obviously your hormones are a bit different. You go to like another puberty, and I'm feeling a bit insecure about it now.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know, and it's not like I don't think people are looking at me because I'm not necessarily that hairy where it would catch people's attract attention or anything. Like I'm quite fair and fine hair, but I think it's more the fact that I'm a parent, and it's like more not the hygiene thing, but more like unkemptness. They have to be very well kempt if you have a kid, because unkemptness is associated with like neglect. And I think I'm obviously, with having children, you want to avoid that as much as possible with them and also yourself. Well,
yeah, no, it bleeds into everything. There's this girl that comes up on my TikTok a lot. I think she's like 20 years old and she has a baby.
Yeah.
And she says that when she goes to the mum and daughter groups, she gets spoken to way more when she has like a full face of makeup on.
Like, well, that's probably to do with
the
halo.
And a proper outfit on.
Yeah. That's probably to do with the halo effect though as well.
I think it's got to do with classism.
Oh, really?
She said, because she says when she goes there and she's like wearing a tracksuit and she just throws her hair up, no one talks to her.
Oh.
Because they probably see her as like, they view her as like, oh, she's like a working class young mum. But like when she like puts makeup on and she wears like a little outfit like jeans and a little nice top, she gets spoken to a lot more. I honestly think it's related to classism.
Okay. That's awful.
I know. It's so awful. And like it probably relates a lot to what you said about like the unkemptness.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it probably like intersects a lot with classism as well. Sorry, pardon me.
But I don't know why body hair is so heavily attached. It's the same with periods where it's so heavily attached to hygiene. Now, because when I was doing the research about this, the history of menstrual products, a lot of it was branded, every single ad, all the marketing tactics, even from back when, like, you know, the ancient medieval era, when they were trying to shame women for their period, it was all to do with hygiene. And it was all very like, this is the cleanest way to deal with your period.
But it's also like periods aren't dirty.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So like the hygiene thing is making women think that, or people who get periods, it's making people who get periods think that getting your period is inherently dirty or like unhygienic, when it's not at all. Isn't period blood like the cleanest blood in your body?
Oh no, absolutely.
Yeah. Because it's the freshest, no?
It's the freshest, and it's the, you know, like, it's I find the only time that periods like smell a little bit or like feel a little bit gross is when they come in contact with a period product. Like, I find that, you know, when I'm fucking having a shower, or when, you know, I'm on like my day 6 of my period and I haven't put a tampon in and I bleed into my underwear, I don't feel gross.
Even if I have sex in my period, there's not a smell.
No, there's not. All right, I have no idea which point it cut off, whether it was normalised the sea sponge or what.
Oh, Jesus.
Don't worry, I checked like a couple of minutes ago and it was recording.
Okay, grand. One of my first videos that ever went sort of viral, or like...
Was it when you got the period cup stuck in you?
Yes.
And what was that experience like?
So I was 21 or 20. I think I was 20 at the time. And I was doing plastic-free July. So that's when you consume no plastic for the whole month. No food products, no makeup products, no beauty products. So I was going fucking full throttle, no plastic whatsoever. So I got a menstrual cup because I use non-applicator tampons, and they still have
like the plastic.
But that's like medical grade plastic. They need to have that there. Like, so I'm not trying to shame tampon companies for having that, because it's like necessary. This was my first time using a menstrual cup. And I got it in, I had it in there for 8 hours, and I was at work that day. I was working in a vintage shop at the time, and I doubled up with a plastic free pad. So I had a plastic free pad in my underwear, and then I saw that it was like leaking through. And I was doing the shift on my own. My managers never came in. So I was like, I had to get one of my friends to watch the till while I ran up to the bathroom. Like 9-hour shift on my own. No one, it's like if I needed to pee, I just had to hold it. Yeah. So I went up to the bathroom and I tried to fish out the menstrual cup, and there was a sink in the bathroom. It should have been fine, and I couldn't even feel the end of it. So I must have a very long shaft, if you will, a canal, elongated shaft. This my birth makes so much more sense now, but so I couldn't even I couldn't even feel it. You know, like the little nipple, the nipple at the end of it. So then I went home and I was talking to my stepmom about it, and I was like, I have a menstrual cup stuck in me, and she was like, it's fine, we'll get it out. So she rang a hospital to talk to a nurse on how to get a menstrual cup out. So they said, go on your hunkers and push as if you're pushing a baby out. And I was like, well, I've never done that, but anyway, I'm going to give it a go. So I had my hunkers in the bathroom, and my stepmom's on the other side of the door, like on the phone to the nurse. And the nurse it was so funny, because the nurse is on the phone going, has she tried pulling it? It's like, she can't reach it. That's why we're calling the hospital. So then I'm getting desperate. I have like a fucking pair of tweezers up there. I'm pushing. Oh no, like it gets grim. I'm pushing, and then I piss on the floor, because it's just like there's so much going on. And then I'm crying. I'm like getting panicky now. So there's like blood and everything. I can't reach it. And it's just like, oh my God, I don't know what's going to happen. So then I call my mom, and she's real like, if you have a cold, she's one of those people who's like, if you have a cold, she thinks you're dying. You know, she's like, oh Jesus, go straight to the hospital. So she gets me in the car, she drives me to the Rotunda, which is where I gave birth to my baby. It's the oldest maternity hospital in the world. So we go in there, there's like women in labour in the waiting room, and I'm there with my fucking menstrual cup stuck in my vagina. And then they're like, Keelin Moncrieff, like ahead of the women in labour. I was just like, I'm so sorry. I get put into this tiny room, which I know now is I've actually been in that room again once I was pregnant. It's just like a checkup room to like listen to the heartbeat.
It must have felt so weird.
Yeah, it was. And I felt like saying to somebody like, I was actually here, you know, a few years ago. But anyway, she got me to lie on my side, got one of my legs up, and then just like, and I had full bush and everything. She was probably used to it. She just straight in, no kissing. She had her whole fit. But now in fairness, she was in me up to her wrist, I think, to get it out. And it was like when it came out, it was like, as you can imagine, like blood splattered everywhere.
Oh my God.
And
Did you keep the cup?
I kept the cup. Now, she was like, in fairness, she said the first time I used a menstrual cup, she was trying to get it out and it flew across the room. Because it like
suction.
Because of the suction, it sucked so far up there.
I know someone that got pregnant from using cups. period cups because it dislodged their
Cervix.
No.
IUD.
IUD. It dislodged their IUD because of the suction, and they got pregnant.
Now, there are horror stories, and I don't want to fearmonger because
Yes.
I am pro menstrual cup.
Same.
And I am willing to try again now that I have a new and improved vagina after those stitches. I feel like it should be better, well equipped now for this.
But it's
menstrual cup.
like with every product, there comes risks.
Yeah, risks.
And like with the moon cup, something you need to factor in is that if you do have an IUD, that the suction can dislodge the IUD and stop it from working.
Yeah.
But also, you know what else can dislodge an IUD? A man's penis. I know someone whose IUD got yanked out by their boyfriend's cock.
Ah! Did he have a piercing or something? How does that happen?
Like, it just got all tangled up in there and it dislodged and it was horrific. It was horrific.
Did she say it was sore?
She said it was like the worst pain she's ever experienced in her life.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's
But he must have had
horrible.
she either had a very short cervix or he had a massive cock.
Oh my God.
I know. So like literally everything comes with risks,
Yeah.
you guys. Don't get put off from using a moon cup or getting an IUD.
No, I do want to try it again. But I would love like there's only two sizes of the menstrual cup. You can get like an A or a B, and there's one specifically for women who have given birth before,
Yes,
because I
there
presume there's like a different shape. But I just know that obviously the canal of my vagina is very long, so I'd love a moon cup that was a bit longer rather than because the size is like wider or thinner, but there isn't one that's longer or like has a longer nipple at the end for me to pull. Do you know that kind of way?
Yeah. See, I usually my favorite one to use is the compact one because it's the smallest one because I've got vaginismus, so sometimes nothing's getting up there. So I've got my little diddy one. It's so cute. It comes in a little case.
Oh,
And I go like, oh, and then it like is collapsible.
pocket pussy.
Pocket pussy. Pocket pussy done right.
Yes.
Pocket pussy, but don't make it misogynistic.
But yeah, that's all my.
I actually found that all extremely interesting and informative. I want to know your take on something.
Oh yeah.
Do you believe that that when you have sex on your period that you're soul tied to that person? It's like my favorite, like, you know, I do think it's slightly hokey pokey discourse of like the whole don't have sex with a man when you're on your period. It's always related to men. It's always like don't have sex with the man when you're on your period because you're going to end up being soul tied to him. I'm not sure how much I believe it because I feel like it's such a broad thing. I do believe that periods are powerful, but I don't know. It's crazy.
I am a little bit woo woo when it comes to certain things. Mm-hmm. Like I do believe in the moon does change your mood and stuff. Like the term lunatic literally comes from like crazy from the moon. Mm-hmm. And apparently higher levels. Now this is a bit dark. There's always higher levels of suicides when there's a full moon, and there's like a thing where there's higher levels of women that go into labor on a full moon as well.
Whoa.
But if you think about it, the tide is controlled by the moon, and we're made up of 60% water. Mm-hmm. So surely it does have sort of impact on our bodily functions. Mm-hmm. So labor, that makes sense to me. Or your period or whatever can sync with the moon, whatever. Yeah. So I do think that the moon has some sort of special powers. Now I know that could sound a bit crazy, but
I don't think it sounds crazy per se. It's more I don't engage with, you know, I used to be very into crystals. I used to, you know, the Mercury retrograde, things like that.
Yeah.
The reason I don't engage with it anymore isn't because I think that, oh my God, these people are fucking stupid and crazy. It's because it sets off my OCD.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I find it quite triggering for my OCD when someone's like, oh, Mercury's in retrograde, because then for the rest of like a week, I'm thinking something awful is going to happen to me. So I try to like disengage from things like that. But I do like totally understand, like, if the tide is controlled by the moon, then surely it's got to affect human beings. We're like living creatures. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, surely. Now there's a lot of things that so I'm not really that superstitious or anything, but there's certain things that I just, because they can't be explained, I will just make up my own conclusion for them. And I like believing in magic a little bit. Mm-hmm. So in terms of the soul ties things, now I was mad into this, I think, when I went through a really, really bad breakup, and it was more as a comfort thing. And especially, you know, the tarot readings that like prey on people's vulnerabilities. It's like the broad tarot readings. It's like this is a sign for you. He's yearning for you. He wants you back.
Like the TikTok tarot readings.
Yeah, I went insane over that. It actually, like, I was on the brink of losing my mind a little bit because I was so obsessed with them. And obviously your For You page feeds you more stuff that you're engaging with, and because I was like so obsessed with them, it was just like feeding into this sort of craziness. Now, I love tarot cards. I think they're great to offer some sort of guidance. I like reading them. My mom, when she went through her divorce, she put me and my sisters into tarot reading workshops and courses, so we all know how to read them. Aww. That was like her thing, and it's such a good skill to have, and it is a source of comfort. But I know from doing tarot card lessons and workshops that they are so specific that you need to be in front of the person that you're reading them for, and they need to be able to pick their own cards. So it's like you can't get a broad reading off of TikTok that is supposed to be a sign for thousands of people.
Can you do readings for yourself?
You can do readings for yourself, yeah.
What about multiple readings in a day?
You can do multiple readings to different people.
No, but like to yourself. Like, is that like not against the rules, but is it like, yeah, no, don't do multiple tarot card readings for yourself a day?
Well, the way it's more like a magical thing, a magical compass, and it's like, or like a magic ball. You can't be sitting there all day like shaking a magic ball asking for the answers. If you think so, probably the more times that you use it on yourself or for one person, it like loses its power each time. I would say that. But there's been too many coincidences for me to not believe in tarot. Too many coincidences for me to not believe in. I do believe in them, is what I'm trying to say. Like too many alignments and stuff that has come true or been like true for me at the time. But in terms of the soul ties thing, I think it's a really dangerous territory, especially for people who are especially vulnerable. So it's like people who are single and looking for love, or people who are going through breakups, and it's predominantly women as well, where it's like you have your twin flame or whatever, and a lot of times people can conflate like toxic relationships with a soul tie or a twin flame because they keep coming back into your life, and you can't lose contact with them, or you can't seem to find the energy to break up with them, or things keep bringing you two back together when in actuality the invisible thing, when in actuality it's just like a toxic thing that you need to let go of. Now another thing that I do believe in is that if someone, say if you like go through a breakup or you go through a friendship breakup and you never see that person ever again for the rest of your life, it's like they have served their purpose in your life, and that's the universe protecting you from them, and you don't need to see them ever again. But if that means if you do bump into your ex, or like if you bump into someone that used to be in your life, that is not a sign for you to be like, oh, we need to get back together now, or that means that their mission isn't complete, or it's like,
no, not so. Sometimes you just run into people.
Yeah.
My mum runs into my dad all the time. They live in the same town. Please don't get back together.
Please don't. So yeah, I do think it's lovely to believe in the soul ties thing. I would be a bit iffy about having sex on my period on a full moon.
To be fair, I think sometimes, do you reckon people maybe get soul ties conflated with like, that was just that was just an act of intimacy. So like, I feel like having sex on your period, obviously depending on who, but I feel like having sex on your period, it can, if you'd want it to be, it can be quite intimate. So it's almost like, the sort of act of period sex is like, there's the discussion of, oh, I'm on my period, by the way.
Yeah.
And then there's the, oh, it's fine, I don't care. That's like one thing. So you're like,
yeah.
And then there's like there's the laying the towel down.
Yeah.
There's the, I think that and there's certain things in period sex that you can't really do.
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes, like, I don't know, if it's like day 3 period, I ain't getting into doggy.
No.
Oh,
Jesus.
So, it's a lot of like, it's a lot of like missionary, or it's a lot of like, I guess you could do cowgirl depending on what day it was, but it's like a lot of
slow. It's like slow and
you're in pain.
Yeah.
You want like your cramps to be soothed a little bit. It's very, very intimate. Or like you do like collapse doggy when you're on your period. Basically, you sort of have to stay on the bed.
Yeah.
So I feel like sometimes people get like these moments of, is your soul tied, or did you just have very intimate sex with someone that you haven't had intimate sex with before?
Yeah.
Much to think about.
I know. Well, it's nice to believe in, I think, sometimes.
I think it is as well. But I think, like, I don't know. I just think people need to be careful. Like, you're not soul tied to your ex just because you fucked him on your period.
No, but I think I'm turning in. I'm more cynical now after so many breakups. I'm just like, does that exist?
I'm like, Idgaff.
Yeah, literally gaff at the moment.
Idgaff.
In terms of love, I'm sick of talking about it. I don't care. I spent so much of my life being like wanting men to love me and wanting to be loved, and now I just like, I don't give a shit.
You know something that, have you gone through your phase yet of like, because I'm going through a breakup right now, and like I'm in the phase of platonic love can heal all.
No, because I went through, well, actually my most recent breakup was a friendship breakup, and that like destroyed me. And I think I'm actually a bit traumatized.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it was the most like horrific, but it was only horrific like 3 months after. I was like in La La Land, where I was like, oh, it's really sentimental. I was like crying on nights out to people, being like, I love her, I miss her. But in actuality, so much more darker, sinister things were happening on her side of it that then I got heard of, and it was just like fucked up.
Oh my God.
So now I was like, I can never trust anyone the way I trusted her, because she was like a sister to me.
Oh my gosh, Keelin,
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, now I still have my best friend Aisling. She lives in Australia, so like I don't have any of my closest friends. But now I have my sisters, which is like the fucking best thing ever.
Yeah.
But my bestest friends, like my best friend Reese lives in London here, so like I only get to see my best friends if I travel to them. Do you know?
That's so shit though. I hope that one day though that like you know, like if you build more platonic friendships like closer to you, you'll be able to have that like wonder moment of like, I went through my breakup over a month ago, and I went to Glastonbury 2 weeks after we broke up, and being able to spend with his friends, being able to spend all that time with them after my breakup, I was like, oh my God, like platonic love can heal all kind of thing. And my friend Dom actually gave me really good advice, because I was on the train to him and I was like, I don't know, I just feel like I've got like another failed relationship under my belt, because you can get like quite cynical when you're going through a breakup. And he was like, it's not failed, it's just complete.
Oh, that's a great way to look at it.
Isn't that the best way to look at it? And that's how I'm trying to like reframe every ended relationship in my life, every friendship that went off the rails, you know, a friendship group that fell apart, every relationship. Instead of thinking of them as failures, I think of them as, oh, they're just complete. Like they were that for that part of my life. Yeah. Like think about when you move out of a house, you know, and let's say, especially towards the end, the house was a fucking dump. Let's say it got so super hot because the windows were single glazed or like something like that, and you know the place was a mess and the shower didn't work properly. But you don't like leave the house and you're like, oh, that was a failed tenancy. What a failed rental moment. Like, I never think that. I just think, all right, I'm done with that part of my life now. Like, and then I don't really think about it again unless I'm reminiscing of, God, what a fucking shit place that was, that flat we used to live in, you know? And you look back on it with like this sort of level of nostalgia almost, like this happiness. I'm trying to apply that to my relationships of like, you know, oh, I haven't failed them. They were just for that time of my life.
Yeah. That's perfect.
Yeah.
And then I suppose, you can celebrate the love you had together more if you look at it that way, rather than beating yourself up over the breakup. Yeah. And that might be keeping a lot of people in relationships to begin with, because they don't want to have a failed relationship under their belt.
Oh, that's kept me in every long-term relationship I've had. Yeah. Is that like, it's like that fantasy of, oh, I always use these terms of permanence. I want to marry this person. I want to have a baby with this person. Because that's how I feel. That's genuinely how I feel. Yeah. But then when, you know, the things start to fall apart and things aren't the same and things change, it's like, oh, I'm not just losing my boyfriend. I'm losing the person I was supposed to marry, the person I was supposed to have a baby with. All of this, it's like, it feels like 10 times the failure. Right? But like, really, I should give myself a bit more of a pat on the back. You know, like it's not like it is that deep, but also sometimes shit happens and it's fine if you break up. It's just complete.
So good.
So good. Wow, we actually finished this episode on a lovely note.
Yeah.
I feel like. Do you have any final thoughts on anything, on the 100 topics that we discussed in this episode?
100 topics we discussed. I think that you should listen to specifically, sounds like a cult episode on monogamy.
Keelin, this is so weird because I 2 days ago, we recorded a podcast episode where I listened to a Binge-topia episode about monogamy.
Someone just recommended that to me yesterday.
It's really good.
Oh my god!
Oh my god! It's so good because I have been having many thoughts. We spoke about it in your episode, the pearl clutching over cheating recently.
Yes.
Like this whole like pearl clutching, like moral superiority over cheating specifically, and it's like, why has this become such a cultural moment?
Yeah.
And you know, the Binge-topia episode about monogamy was super interesting. Like, is it like, are we just doing it because everyone else is doing it, or are we as human beings monogamous creatures?
It's because, and my feelings to it personally is that I feel, and I feel like a psychopath every time I say this, but I'm like, I don't think I would be jealous if my partner had sex with someone else. Mm-hmm. But when I'm in a relationship, I don't find anyone else really attractive.
Really?
Or it's like, I'm not arsed because it's like I have someone. Do you know what I mean? But I like the idea of consent, ethical non-monogamy.
Yeah.
Because it just sounds easier to me. But then I feel like a psycho, or people think that I'm like greedy.
No, I actually think that, you know, the older I'm getting, the more I'm realizing that I actually think that, you know, I think when we think of an open relationship, we sort of think of the stereotype of like either you have multiple partners or you're like have a partner at home but you're just going out and shagging all the time. When really, personally, my take on an open relationship is you're in a relationship, but then, you know, you're away from each other, you're in a different country, something like that. You meet someone and you're attracted to them and you have sex with them. Yeah. You tell your partner about it and then that's it, kind of thing. I feel like that's the way forward.
Yeah. I don't want to say too much on my digital footprint, you know, because I might go back, I might be married next week, you know.
Oh my god, no, don't even. Buddy, my future partner's gonna, when they tried to proposition an open relationship to me, he's gonna play this back to me like, see? You said you wanted it. I'd be like, no. To be fair, I'm always crazy, like first year into a relationship, I'm always crazy. Like, I'm like obsessed with the other person. Yeah. And I'm like, don't find anyone else attractive. And then it sort of begins to wane off a little bit. But yeah, I feel like with an open relationship, I feel like it has to start open. I feel like opening it up can be a bit, I don't know.
I have heard of a couple, I don't know them personally, but they're like friends of a friend. And they'd been together for like 3 years and then they went open relationship.
Okay, and is it working?
Yeah, and it's been working.
Tea.
Yeah.
Wow, heard it here first, folks.
Yeah.
What time do you have to leave again?
5:15.
Oh, we're bang on time.
Is it 5:15?
Yeah, it's 5:15.
Fuck's sake.
Right.
Oh my god.
My loves. Keelin,
Bye,
thank
thanks
you
for
so
having
much
me
for
on.
coming on.